The Dallas Mavericks have a chance to hit the 70-win mark this season, which is something that only one other team in NBA history has accomplished, the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls. After Michael Jordan returned to the team in March of the previous season, the Bulls were knocked off by the Orlando Magic in the Eastern Conference semis. But that only made them hungrier when they came back to begin the next campaign. Now we'll dip into our archive footage as Ron Burke gives us a look back at that historical run.
Having Michael back, we felt like that, this was going to be our opportunity to go for it again.
You get the tap right, you run your fist side, use the pass.
Hey! With Jordan and Pippen forming an incomparable core, the Bulls jumped out to their best start in history. Dennis Rodman brought a critical piece to the puzzle as the Bulls now boasted the game's most formidable trio. Carving out a vital presence, Rodman epitomized the meaning of team player.
We had a good situation for Dennis to come into. Michael and Scotty were here. He respected those players a tremendous amount. Both of them said, hey, if you and Phil think it's the right thing to do.
Got it, Dennis. Got it. That's enough, man. That's enough.
But what's unique about this team is that in years past, teams generally have had to take some time to gel as a group. And this year you've added Michael back to the mix, Dennis Rodman as a starter, and they came together so quickly.
But even with their star-studded nucleus, the Bulls would demonstrate all season long that winning was a total team effort.
What drove us this year was a lot of the players on our team never experienced this type of winning, and not as rapidly as we did. From Randy Brown to Steve Kerr to Judd Boucher. A lot of these guys have been on other teams that have never won.
And the bench delivers again.
So the motivation was even greater, not just from the starting five, not just from Scottie Pippen, myself, Dennis Rodman, the guys who have experienced it before, but from the guys who were on the bench supporting and coming in and relieving us of minutes. They wanted it more than we did because they've never experienced anything like this in their lives.
Some had never experienced the full measure of Michael Jordan. But by the end of November, that too would change.
I remember back a game in it was Vancouver. We should have lost the game. We were down 12 points with 6 minutes to go. Michael just said, well, that's enough. I can't let this happen. And
all alone, thinking about the shot, thinking about driving. Now drives down to the right side, goes up with the left hand. It's good.
It seems like whenever we're in a tight spot, Michael just turns up the jets a little bit.
12 straight by Jordan, 12 straight.
And everybody realized that this guy was back in his full force as, the most dominant player in the game.
In early December, the Bulls came home from a long but successful road trip. They continued to run on all cylinders and marched through the month.
They're styling right now. And the question is now, who can beat this Chicago Bulls team?
It's not individual. It's a team situation.
And no one demonstrated that better than Jordan and Pippen, as they provided the team's anchor and gave the rest of the league a lesson in winning.
Bulls are toying.
I gotta help. I gotta get the ball. I gotta go.
Spencer and Jordan picked it off. Behind the back, Pippen. Oh, yes, sir. Wow.
Well, we had a ball club that could hurt you in a lot of different areas, whether it was beating you on the boards, beating you defensively, or beating you in our transition game.
For all of Chicago's heroics, winning came down to the basics.
It's pretty to have a shot or a dunk or, a steal and a run-up, but really the things that provide you those things are the nuts and bolts of basketball, and that's hard teamwork.
Now listen, if I call a 10 defense, match up and play 10 full-court defense.
You're only as good as your weakest link.
Can't give him points at 8 minutes gone the first quarter.
As the Bulls continued to pile up the victories, their success seemed to come at will.
we just breezing along. But you always, in the back of your mind, you realize you get off to a good start. And we kept going. And the next thing you know, it's All-Star break, and we're
we're just sitting out there by ourselves.
Well, there's a look at that team that went 72-10 in the regular season and beat Seattle for the NBA championship. 33 wins on the road. They were 39-2 at home. That was the first of our three-part series that looks back at those 96 Bulls. We'll have part 2 tomorrow night, and then a special presentation on Wednesday as we show you part 3, along with our exclusive interview with Scottie Pippen as he provides his own recollections about the team. Jim, what do you remember most about that club? What stands out for you?
The thing that stands out the most for me, obviously they were a great collection of talent, but I think one of the things that stands out when you think about that team is how they all just came together, and a couple of the guys spoke about that during the piece, the ability to put everything together so easily and start the season that way and catch the snowballing effect and continue to play. Now, granted, they had a lot of good talent, but still, to put a lot of talent on the floor, you still have to get it to mesh, and that was the thing that I think, past the talent, made them that good.
And we heard Jerry Krause talking a little bit about it in the beginning of that piece. They went out and got Dennis Rodman.
Right.
They traded Will Perdue to San Antonio. And they knew what they were getting.
Sure.
They had to run it by a couple of guys, and he fit in perfectly. Toward the end, got a little crazy. I'm not sure how many hair colors we saw in that piece. But
it was up to 3 or 4.
He led the league in rebounding again and kept quiet for the most part that season.
Well, see, and the key, I think, becomes, Matt, when you have a great leader like you have in Jordan, and then you have a guy like Scottie Pippen who's right up in there, and not quite at that level, but another leader like Jordan. And I think one of the key things becomes a guy like Rodman back then comes in with all the hair colors and all the things he's going to do, the extravaganza that he's going to bring on and off the floor. But he fit in, and when he was between the lines, I mean, he played hard. He got the job done. He rebounded. He was an integral part of what they needed to do from a statistical standpoint, rebounding the ball and also playing defense. So you take the act away, and he's a little crazy. You take it back on the floor, still a little crazy, but got him to work.
Absolutely. So he won the rebounding title that year.